Secrets According to Humphrey, Chapter 13, No More Secrets. For a while, school was back to normal. Mrs. Brisbane taught and the students worked and learned and had some fun. I went home with Rolling Rosie for the weekend and had fun, showing her all my tricks. At the beginning of the next week, Mrs. Brisbane made an announcement. Class, we're starting a new club in room 26, but it won't be secret, she said. It's a book club where we all read a book and discuss it. Holly, would you hand out these information sheets to send home to the parents? Read it, discuss it, and if you're interested, you can sign up. The book club sounded positively wonderful. But when I saw helpful Holly handing out the papers, I felt a pang. Soon she'd be moving to Hollywood, and I'd never see her again unless I saw her on TV. Who would Mrs. Brisbane call on for help? And how would we feel without her around? How would I feel? I saw Thomas and Joey giving each other a thumbs up. They looked happy about the book club, but they didn't know Holly was moving away. When was she going to go? On Tuesday morning, I found out when Holly was leaving. Mr. Morales came into the classroom before school to talk to Mrs. Brisbane. He had on a tie with tiny flags on it. Here's a revised schedule, he said. So, at 10 o'clock, you can expect some special visitors. As you can see, this TV reporter, Sandy Starr, will be doing an intro in the hallway beforehand. Then they'll film in the classroom and do some interviews. Mrs. Brisbane smiled. This will be a day to remember. The day Holly was leaving felt like a day I'd like to forget. Did you give the schedule to Mrs. Wright? Mrs. Brisbane said. Oh, yes, Mr. Morales said. I don't want to get in trouble. It was funny to think that Mr. Morales, who's the principal, didn't want to get in trouble with Mrs. Wright, who is a teacher. Maybe he was afraid of her whistle, too. I hopped on my wheel and did some spinning to help me calm down a bit. Og splashed around in his tank. Maybe he needed calming down, too. My friends all came into class laughing and talking. Holly showed Rosie the book she was reading, and I heard them talk about joining the book club. But Holly wouldn't be joining the book club. Do they have book clubs in Hollywood? And isn't it funny that a girl named Holly was moving to a place called Hollywood? I watched the hand on the clock inch its way from 8 o'clock to 8:30 to 9 o'clock to 9:30. My friends went out for recess, and I spun on my wheel some more. By the time my classmates were back in their seats, the clock had inched its way to 9:55. 5 minutes until the surprise. At 10 o'clock, Mrs. Brisbane was talking about the book club again when there was a knock at the door. She acted surprised. I wonder who that could be, she said, as if she didn't know. She walked over and opened the door. Well, it looks like we have some special visitors. A man and a woman, both wearing uniforms, entered. The woman carried a huge teddy bear. The man had a huge bunch of balloons. I knew that woman. It was Phoebe's mom, and the man must be Phoebe's dad. My whiskers wiggled and my tail started twitching. When I glanced over at Phoebe, she looked as shocked and surprised as I was. Phoebe, we're home, her mom said. We're all going to be together again, her dad said. Phoebe raced over to her parents, and the three of them hugged some more. You're here, you're really home, Phoebe cried. My friends were buzzing with excitement. Calm down, Cassie was so excited she got up and started jumping up and down and clapping. Og splashed around like crazy, and I let out a loud yippee. Phoebe's grandmother had come in too, along with people with cameras and perky woman with a microphone. It was Sandy Starr from TV. So many cameras flashed, all I could see were colored dots floating in front of my eyes. When she was finished hugging her parents, Phoebe hugged her grandmother. Then Sandy Starr moved in with her microphone. Phoebe, how does it feel to see your parents again, she asked. I was pretty sure I already knew the answer to that. Oh, I'm so happy, Phoebe's voice quivered as they hugged her again. It's just what I wished for. Are you home to stay, the reporter asked Phoebe's parents. Yes, her father said. We're all moving back to Winfield. For the first time, I looked at my other classmates. Some of them looked happy and some looked surprised. Kelsey was actually crying. Mr. Morales and Mrs. Wright came into the classroom to shake hands with Phoebe and her parents. Phoebe hugged her grandmother again. You didn't tell me, she said. Oh, but I'll miss you. Don't you worry, her grandmother said. I'll come visit you all the time. Sandy Starr asked Phoebe and her parents a lot of questions. She interviewed Mrs. Brisbane and Mr. Morales, and then went to talk to some of the other students. How do you feel about Phoebe's good news? She asked, tell the truth, Thomas. He looked surprised to have a camera in his face, but he smiled and said, I'm happy for her. but I'll miss her. Turned to Holly. Were you surprised what happened today? Holly looked directly at the camera. Yes, I was, she said. I'll miss Phoebe so much, but I know she'll be happy to be with her parents again. It looked like Holly was going to be on TV after all. Then the man with the TV camera said he wanted to get some shots of our room. So he moved all around filming my friends and Mrs. Brisbane, and he even brought the camera over to our table. Hi, 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 I squeaked as he passed by. Everything happened so fast I could hardly keep up. Then suddenly all the cameras and guests, and even Phoebe, were gone. Class, I know this day has been an exciting roller coaster, Mrs. Brisbane said. Let's talk about it. Yes, 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 I squeaked, which made everyone laugh. I've always known that Mrs. Brisbane was a great teacher, but that day I knew it even more. She talked to my friends about how difficult it had been for Phoebe to be so far away from her parents, but her parents had an important job to do for the country. Don't forget, lots of children have parents serving in the military, she said. Then she talked about how Phoebe's grandmother had helped her deal with her loneliness and her worries about her parents. And she told my fellow classmates that her friendship with Phoebe had been a big help to her whole family. We'll all miss Phoebe, she said in a shaky voice, but we can be happy for her at the same time. My whiskers wilted and my tail twitched. I felt as sad as I had when Miss Mack left and went far, far, far away. But I was happy for Phoebe. The next morning, Phoebe came to school as usual. Once class began, Mrs. Brisbane asked her if she had anything to say to her friends. Today is my last day in room 26, she said. I'll miss you all so much, but I'm so excited to move back home with my mom and dad. Can we keep in touch, please? My friends all said they keep in touch, but I didn't know how I could do that. At the end of the day, when her parents came to pick her up, Phoebe came over to the table where Og and I live. Humphrey and Og, I know I've sometimes been forgetful this year, she said. I was always thinking about my parents, but I want you both to know that I'll never, ever forget either one of you. Then she gave me a little piece of carrot, and she threw some froggy fish sticks into Og's tank. Boing, 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 Og thanked her as she dived for the food. Thanks, Phoebe, I squeaked. I love you. I know she couldn't understand me, but for some reason she said, I love you too, Humphrey. Room 26 was very quiet on Thursday. Mrs. Brisbane announced the first book for the book club. It took place in Egypt. I could tell that Kelsey especially missed Phoebe. After all, they'd been sisters of the Nile. But the other girls spent more time with her, and by the end of the day, she even smiled a little bit. I spent a lot of time spinning on my wheel. I was happy, happy, happy that Phoebe was with her parents. I'd heard her say how much she missed them. But I was sad, sad, sad to lose a friend. I was cheered up quite a bit when Tall Paul stopped by my cage. Guess what, Humphrey? My parents are getting me a hamster. He had a huge smile on his face. You convinced them, and they kept it a secret all this time. I'm getting it this weekend. Thanks. You are welcome, I said. It would be nice to be a pet for just one child, but I think it's even better to be the pet for a whole classroom. After school, I was about to grab my notebook and write down my thoughts when the door opened and Miss Mack came in. Hi, Humphrey, she said. You had a big week. It was great to see you on TV last night. I had been on TV, too. I'm sure you missed Phoebe the way I missed you when I left room 26 and went to Brazil. I was sad, 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 I squeaked. I told you how I've missed having a classroom pet, she said. I don't know why, but her voice sounded different. So I finally made a decision and got a pet for room 12. Not a hamster, of course, she said. No hamster could ever be as wonderful as you are, so I got a guinea pig. Eek! I shouted. Boing, boing, Og yelled. Calm down, she said with a smile. I'm only thinking of my students. As you know, you can learn a lot about yourself by taking care of another species. That was something Miss Mack told me when she first brought me to room 26, and I've tried hard to be the best classroom pet I could. Gigi is a very nice guinea pig, she said. I'll take you in to meet her sometime. Maybe you can give her some tips. Gigi? A her? I'll try, I said, even though my heart was hurting a tiny bit. Miss Mack glanced at her watch. The bad news is I've got to go meet a friend across town. I can't leave Gigi in the car, so she's going to have to spend the night in my classroom, she said, just like you did when I left. It was lonely without Miss Mack, and it didn't help that my heart was broken. She got up to leave, but she turned back. I almost forgot, she said. I brought you a little present. I thought it might be time for a new one. Without another word, she opened my cage and stuck a brand new tiny notebook behind my mirror, and she left. I sat and thought. The room grew dark, and I thought some more. Og, did I ever tell you that my first night alone here in room 26 was unspeakably scary? I asked my neighbor. Boing, Og seemed surprised. That was before you came, I said, and I had no idea what a classroom pet does. Og dived into the water side of his tank. Gigi probably doesn't know the first thing about being a classroom pet either, I said. Og splashed loudly in his tank. Soon I heard the rattle, rattle, rattle of Aldo's cleaning cart, and the lights came on. Hello, my friends, Aldo said as he entered room 26, wearing a big smile. I have good news. There were no mice in the traps, and nobody got into my trash bag, so maybe the problem is solved. I was as relieved as Aldo was about the mice. As far as I was concerned, he would never, ever, ever find a broken trash bag again. After he left, the room was dark again. I heard the loud ticking of the clock. I remember how that sound scared me on my first night in room 26. I opened the lock that doesn't lock and hurried across the table. Og, maybe I should at least say hello to Gigi. She must be feeling a little lonely, I said. I'll give her your regards. Boing, boing. It sounded as if Og agreed. So I slid down the leg of our table, as I have so many times before, and scampered to room 12. When I got there, the room was so dark, I couldn't see a thing. But I could smell a brand new smell. Gigi. Gigi, I squeaked. Don't be afraid. I'm your friend. My name is Humphrey, and I'm one of the classroom pets in room 26. We also have a frog named Og. He told me to say hi from him also. Oh, and I'm a friend of Miss Max. I heard a very soft squeak, squeak, and I knew what that meant. Hi, Humphrey. I never knew I spoke guinea pig. I moved a little closer and saw a dark figure huddled in the corner of a cage. I think Gigi was shaking. You are unsqueakably lucky to be a classroom pet, especially in Miss Max's class, I told her, and you'll have a wonderful time with your classmates. I hope you get to go home with them on the weekends. They'll have problems you'll help to solve, and you'll work hard. Gigi squeaked again. In the end, you'll have the best time a hamster or a guinea pig ever had. And you know what? You'll make a difference, I told her. By then my eyes had adjusted to the light, and I could see Gigi. She was quite a bit larger than I am. I saw that she'd stopped shaking, but she was still in the corner. I'm going back to room 26 now, but I'll come visit you again some night, and if you have any questions, I might be able to give you some tips. I said, Thanks, Gigi said in a soft voice. I was almost to the door when I remembered something. I turned back toward Gigi's cage. Oh, and you might want to try jiggling the lock on your cage, I said, just in case you have a lock that doesn't lock too. Who knows? She might have big adventures outside of her cage like me. Humphrey's top secret scribbles. Friendships like Phoebe's never, ever end, but there's always room for a brand new friend. Humphrey's tips about keeping and telling secrets. Number 1. Some secrets are okay, but such as a surprise party that everyone knows about except the guest of honor, and that person will find out anyway. Surprise! Number 2, if you're planning a gift for someone, it's fine to keep it a secret. It won't be a secret forever, and it's something nice. Number 3, secrets that make you feel bad or scared or bothered are not good to keep, and you should tell somebody, like a parent or a teacher. Number 4, secrets that leave others out and hurt people's feelings are definitely not good. Don't do that. You wouldn't like that. Number 5, hurtful gossip, which means bad things people say about others behind their backs, should not be shared with others unless it's something that scares or worries you. Then, tell a grown-up. Number 6, secret notebooks are fine, but sometimes they get found by the wrong person, so don't write anything you wouldn't want someone else to see. Number 7, secrets that make you safe aren't good to keep. Number 8, secret locks that don't lock aren't a good idea, unless you're an adventurous hamster. Number 9, if you accidentally find out someone else's happy secret, keep it to yourself. Let the person with the secret share it at the right time. And number 10, here's the thing. Tell an adult about any secret or anything else that bothers you, and don't do anything to make someone else feel bad. That's it.